Hi everyone, Tony from Hack the Movies here, and today we're going to talk about the John Wick franchise and try to guess what is the best John Wick thing so far.
Are we trying to guess? So you have the answer, and this is us trying to figure it out.
No, we're going to figure it out.
Okay.
We're going to figure it out today on Hack the Movies. Hi, Gil.
Hello, Tony.
Thank you for being here in person, finally.
I know. Finally, we can finally talk about fixing our blood oath that we talked about earlier.
That's right, the blood oath that we took. And what a great time. I don't know if you noticed, the store looks a little different.
Yes.
We got consecrated as a Continental video store.
Amazing.
Those exist. So basically, I could keep doing the same thing, but I was told that I need douchey LED lights. I need to supply guns, which I have on the wall here. And I need to rent tapes to weird Eastern European guys. Other than that, it's pretty much normal.
But Tony, why would a video store for hitmen need an armory?
That's a good question. Why would a hotel? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, it was the gimmick for the episode. Just go along with it, you asshole. John Wick. What a franchise. Should it be a franchise? I debate that all the time. So how did you first hear about John Wick?
This was a movie that I remember seeing with my dad and my brother the weekend it came out. And it was an unusual circumstance where we just decided we want to go see a movie. Let's see what's in theaters. Usually it's a particular movie we're looking forward to. There are plans, but this was really spontaneous. And went on Rotten Tomatoes, saw Keanu Reeves is in a new movie that's getting good reviews.
Yeah.
So we sat down to watch it. And I remember as I was seeing the movie, I was like, I think this is a movie I've been waiting for my whole life and just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Because I grew up on The Punisher. He was like my favorite comic book hero, anti-hero, just because there's tons of revenge stories. But this is one where the guy loses everything, becomes a shell of a man. All he has is revenge.
Yes.
For some reason, I was able to really relate to that growing up.
You needed a lot of revenge growing up?
But to the outside world, he is this force of nature, totally unstoppable. And I feel like I'd never seen that on film before, especially with the cinematography to actually back it up.
Yeah. So I didn't see this in theaters. I think I saw the trailers and thought it looked like whatever. He was in like a bunch of like shit movies at the time. Was it 47 Ronin?
Yeah, I remember trying to watch that.
Yeah, he was in like a bunch of it. And I don't even like, I like Keanu Reeves, but he was going through a period where it was like, oh, this looks pretty bad.
What a hot take. I personally like Keanu Reeves. He seems like a nice guy.
But no, I heard reviews of it afterwards were really, really good. And then I guess my grandfather like bought the DVD and left it here the one day. And I was like, all right, well, let's pop this in. And I fell in love with it. So it was like two stunt guys, right? Who kind of produced this.
Chad Stahelski and like Rob Leach, I think.
Yes. And Chad is the one who's been directing them, I believe. Yes. So yeah, it was very stunt oriented, which I liked. And I saw like a bunch of like famous stuntmen in it. Like the first one, Daniel Bernhardt shows up.
Who's Daniel Bernhardt?
Huh?
Who is that?
Who is he just in general?
Yeah.
He's a famous stunt guy, martial artist. He replaced Jean-Claude Van Damme in the Bloodsport sequels.
Okay.
He was, I mean, obviously, you're like, oh, Tony, he's Zero for Mortal Kombat Conquest. I know exactly who
That's
you're
what I was
talking
waiting
about.
for. I was quizzing you.
Yes, if you're a Mystery Science Theater fan, he's the badass guy in Future War. Trust me, he's very, very celebrated. He's a very good martial artist. Maybe not in the best movies, but I was wondering why he was in like this type of movie. I'm like, oh, because it's made by like stunt, like fighting dudes.
Right.
So that kind of grabbed me, and I just really, really enjoyed the whole film. I'm like, this was great. This was a fun little revenge thing. And I'm like, oh wow, and there's this like extra bit of flavor about this secret society.
I need 5 more of these movies.
Yeah, just a little bit of that was nice. Just a little bit of that was nice. But before we go into that film, let me read the fun synopsis here. The wick is lit and about to explode.
It doesn't say that.
It says the wick is lit and is about to explode. 2014, if they had just left it to wick is lit, that would have been fine.
I wish it should have been phrased, John's wick is lit.
Okay. Intense, brooding, and lethal, Keanu Reeves ignites the screen as John Wick, a former hitman with a short fuse and a long memory. Doesn't really need a long memory for this movie. Okay. The most remorseless assassin the world has ever seen has just been awakened. Wick is forced out of retirement to track down the brutal Russian mobsters who took everything from him. Well, they took one okay.
You killed that from me.
Wick now hunts down these adversaries with a ruthlessness that made him a crime underworld legend. Only this time, it's personal. From the producer of The Town comes a movie I cannot remember a single goddamn thing about. I've seen it. I don't remember.
I remember liking that movie.
I remember liking it too.
I remember the nun masks.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah.
Comes a dark and stylish tale of revenge and redemption set in a brilliantly reimagined New York City. This is Reeves' most intense role yet, and his on-screen action is the best he's had since the Matrix movies. Yeah, I know, this CGI double flying around. That was really intense.
You hate Keanu Reeves sequels, is the vibe I'm getting.
Also starring Michael Nives, the late Michael Nives from the real Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. They don't make sure to let you know if it's the American. I think they want you to think it's the American one, but it's the real one. Alfie Allen from Game of Thrones. Which one is he? Is he a kid?
Theon Reek.
Is he the son who like fucks with John Wick?
No, he would. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yosef.
Yes. And Willem Dafoe, a most wanted man. We all know Willem Dafoe from The Most Wanted Man, obviously. I guess it was a movie that was out at the time.
I thought you were describing him. Like, I do want.
No, he apparently was in a movie called A Most Wanted Man, and this DVD wants you to know that's what he's from. Yeah, so what that left off here was that everything that was taken away from him kind of happens before the movie starts. He had a wife, they were in love, and she died. So it's kind of like a fun revenge movie because he's not even getting revenge for the dead wife. It's just the wife had it planned that he would get a puppy. Mm-hmm. She probably should have figured out if he knew anything about dogs because it seems like he didn't know anything about dogs.
Or the dog goes out to go to the bathroom and he's like, oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe she could have ordered like a Chewy subscription and had food delivered with the dog. I don't know. So she arranged for him to have a dog so that she could, it's just a living thing he could take care of and remember her.
You need something to take care of, and the car doesn't count.
Yes, the car does not count. He has a really nice car.
Yeah.
Do you have the name of the car?
No. I don't know anything about cars. So like you said, it's a really nice car, and I was kind of just nodding along. Like, sure, I guess.
Yeah, so really, really nice car. You know, he's getting gas, and a bunch of Russian dudes are like, we like your car. We want the car.
Well, and how badass is it that he knows Russian?
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
This movie, everything he does, they make look badass.
Yeah.
Even in the second movie, not to skip ahead, but he knows sign language. Like every time someone thinks he doesn't understand what they're saying, and he's like, I do understand.
He knows everything. He was trained, and we'll figure out where he's trained in the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they like his car, and they're mad that he won't sell them the car at a gas station.
Right.
These guys are idiots. These guys are fucking stupid. And I know he's the mob boss's son, but I feel like he doesn't command this much. He shouldn't command this much loyalty from his bros. Like, even the dad should be like, you don't have to listen to him. He's an idiot.
Well, and the fact that he so casually approached John with this offer to buy his car means this must be the kind of thing he does all the time.
Yeah.
But
does he ever get away with it? Like, do people actually give him cars?
Right. Do you know how many puppies I killed last week? The guys who wouldn't give me their cars.
So, yeah, they've been wronged. They've been betrayed, I guess. I don't know. So they're like, oh, we're going to follow him back home, and we're going to beat the shit out of him, take his car, and kill his puppy.
You're right.
Which that was that.
As one does.
That makes a lot of... Do you kill many people when you don't buy a car or you go around?
After this, I was going to ask if I can buy this video store, so...
Yes.
I don't know what's the going rate. A puppy for a car. I don't know what do I have to kill.
I don't know. I never thought about it before. Just how about we swap YouTube subscribers? I'll just take your channel. How about that?
I might have to get going. Actually. I'm driving through a tunnel. I don't know.
Oh no, the tunnel! I can't do the tunnel here. Yeah. So what do you know it? This wasn't just some rich guy with a puppy. It turns out he was the most awesome assassin in the world who was retired.
The boogeyman.
The boogeyman.
No, the one you sent to kill the boogeyman.
Yes, Baba Yaga, which I always get annoyed when they call him Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that means witch, but I'm thinking of a very specific Baba Yaga, which is like the old lady who has the house with chicken legs.
I don't know what that is.
That's like a Russian thing.
Oh,
it was in a Tomb Raider game from a few years back.
Oh, okay.
You ever play Rise of the Tomb Raider?
No.
Okay, well, it was in that. It was in that last Hellboy movie, which I still have not seen. I saw it in the preview, and I went, "That's the chicken house." It was in the Russian Jack Frost movie that was on Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah, you're giving. I feel like the references just keep getting more and more obscure. Oh, you don't know that one. Okay, you definitely know that spin-off Lara Croft game.
Look,
So you must have been really confused. You're like, this movie's taking a supernatural turn. I wasn't expecting that.
It's just Boogeyman is one thing, but like specifically Baba Yaga, I'm picturing a lady with a chicken house. Like, and that doesn't really. John Wick doesn't remind me of that.
He explains it to the kid. You have no idea who you're messing with. And he's
I
like,
love
the chicken lady. I don't know what the problem.
I love how terrified the dad is and like how much he hates his son for this. He's like, oh my God, why did you do that? That was like the worst thing you could have possibly done.
It's hard now to put myself back seeing that scene for the first time because now I feel like it's not that unusual to talk up the main character. Like the beekeeper did it.
Yeah.
What was that movie with the guy from the Badass Santa movie?
I didn't watch either of those. There's Violent Night.
Yeah, Violent Night.
David Harbour. I didn't see that.
Okay. But there was one, it doesn't matter.
There's Fat Man with Mel Gibson. That was another Santa one. I didn't see that one either.
But the whole idea of building up the protagonist, it kind of seems like backwards from what you'd want them to do.
Yeah.
Because you'd want them to build up the bad guy and say that the obstacle you need to overcome is huge. But here they're telling you how badass the protagonist is.
Yeah.
And they're building it up, and then he digs up the concrete, and you just can't wait to see the carnage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the new Doom games. Like, I don't know if you play Doom.
No, I haven't played a game in like here and there. I dabble in
now
games.
You shouldn't because they're for children.
Exactly, yeah.
But I only play video games to make sure they're good for kids. The Doom games, I mean, I'm glad that they're against the devil, but they are not good for kids. But no, like in those games, it's literally like a Doom guy is the most amazing thing in the world. Hopefully this giant demon has a chance, and like just keep sending more and more demons. And it's like, oh, these fuckers are dead. So it's kind of fun in a way, because normally it's like, oh, the hero's too overpowered. It's not as fun, and that can be boring.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to see. It's like a fun thing where it's like, well, what plan will the bad guys come up with next? Maybe this one will work.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think about what made this movie special, because we've seen so many revenge movies. Like you just said, when you have the main action hero who's overpowered, that can easily get boring.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is usually in a revenge movie, they would have killed his wife. Like, in fact, when they were getting this movie made, that was one of the changes they wanted. They were like, you can't kill the puppy. You got to kill his whole family. The thing is, it's like we've gotten so desensitized to humans dying in a movie.
We need the puppy.
Exactly. Like, that's not something you're expecting. No. And like you said earlier, the thing he's getting revenge for happened before the movie even started. His wife was taken by illness, which is something that more people can relate to than like the Russian mob going after you.
It's not something that you can like get revenge on.
Right.
Can't really get, what was it, like brain tumor or just cancer? I forget.
I don't know if they actually specify.
Okay. Well, it's not like I can't be like, brain tumors. I'm not like run out.
Well, the way that the movies keep getting bigger and bigger, I don't know, by John Wick 7, he's like, God, I'm coming for you.
I would love if these end up being Doom prequels. Like he's the resurrected Doom guy.
They did it with Punisher. He became like he died and then came back as an angel with like magic bullets.
That was terrible. That was a horrible idea.
Well, John Wick can do it right.
John Wick could probably do it right.
In a way, they almost did him a favor by killing the puppy because now he has someone to take all his anger out on. I think there's a valid read on the movie where this is him just psychologically working through his trauma.
Yeah.
He's not really getting revenge. Like, he is,
Yeah.
but it's just making him feel better.
Yeah. But no, it's a fun ride to go on. The fight, I remember what really stuck out to me was like the fighting and the shooting, like how the gun stuff was incorporated in there. Realistically enough. I mean,
Yeah.
as realistic as you can be in these kind of, like any other.
Well,
By the
can
time
you
we get to
make
John Wick 4, I was just like, he should have been dead 10 minutes into this film, but whatever.
They keep having him fall from higher
Yeah.
and higher places. And as long as you land on a car, or
Yeah.
if not a car, a dumpster, either will do the
Yeah.
trick.
Sometimes he just lands on the ground, and that's what I'm just like, how do you get up
Yeah,
on
but-
that one?
The concrete in the waterfall club.
I do love how he does like the double tap. Like even after he shoots a guy, like he'll make sure to get him in the head to make sure it's like done.
The best thing about it is the fact that you see him reload.
Yes.
Because people always complain about fight scenes. Like, how many bullets does this gun have?
Yeah.
Like, growing up watching movies with my dad, that was the thing he would always point out. Apparently, I invented a phrase when I was trying to figure out what's so great about these action scenes. Because in my John Wick video, I was like, the geography of the fight scenes are very clear. And if you Google geography of a fight scene, you literally get less than 1 page of results on Google. But to me, so many action movies nowadays, between the shaky cam, between the so many cuts and the CGI, you can't tell what's going on.
Luckily, this one was small enough that the CGI stuff is very few and far between. It's mostly done for the gunshots. And I know some people don't like blood squibs, but if you're doing this kind of action scene, you're filming over and over again, CGI blood, it's one of those like you don't have to clean the set up. There's a reason for it, and it worked for this type of film.
Yeah. Well, and I think the fact that Keanu Reeves is doing a lot of his own stunts,
Yeah.
you don't have to cut around a stuntman if there isn't one.
There's a lot of long takes, but not like annoyingly fake long takes.
Right.
Like the new Roadhouse, every time there was a fight scene, it's like this is clearly like all digital and whatnot.
Well, and as much as I love, everyone always brings up the Daredevil like hallway scenes and
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
which are really cool.
Yeah.
Especially when you see it in a Marvel show and you're not used to like, that was actually really good action.
Yeah.
But they'll do the obvious things where it like sweeps across a door or a
Yeah.
hallway. Like, well, if the screen was black for a second, that was one part where you could have like turned it off and back
You
on.
don't even need
stitch
to
it
cut to
together.
any black thing. You just digitally composite two things and like blur it in. Like
Marvel executives are watching right now. Like, what did you just say?
No,
Hold
they've
on.
been
Yeah,
doing
wait.
this for a while. You can combine different takes seamlessly. That's been a thing for a long time. But yeah, no, the action is just really fluid. I love that the bad guy eventually is just like, all right, fuck my son. I don't care anymore. And then he's like, feels bad about it. He's like, all right, I guess I need revenge for killing my son. But yeah, the secret society stuff
Right.
was very interesting because then we find out about the Continental. It's this hotel for like assassins
Yeah, you first get an inkling of it, I think, after the first big fight scene.
with the cop.
Yeah, the cop shows up. He's like, "You working again, John?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Wait, what's going on here?" And then he pays a guy in gold to clean up all the bodies.
Yeah.
And then finally you get to the Continental.
And you find out, yeah, there's this secret society of assassins. They work for very high ranking people, like wealthy people. Yeah, they have their own currency. They have their own rules.
Everything costs 1 gold coin.
Yeah. Ian McShane is Winston. I forget who Lance Reddick plays, but Lance Reddick.
Sharon.
Sharon. Yeah, and they run the New York chapter of the Continentals. We will learn there's other Continentals out there. And it was just a cool thing. I'm like, wow. I thought this was gonna be a straight up revenge thing, but this little element made it stand out a little bit more. I like Willem. I like that he's just friends with other assassins.
It just hints at a larger world.
Yeah.
And it helps to back up the idea that he was this legendary killer. It was like I was drawing a comparison when we did our Roadhouse remake review.
Yeah.
In the original Roadhouse, the way that all the like enforcers and bouncers know each other,
Yeah.
and they have like that guy is legendary in this world. They take that and really run with it in this movie.
Yeah.
It also creates like the idea of John, the duality of John being two different people. There's John Wick the man, and then there's the Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
And it creates such a visual difference too. Like when he goes to the Continental and they go down to the basement, that's when the movie becomes really stylistic, where he's bathed in like red or green. There's a lot of nightclub scenes, so it makes
They
it.
love their nightclubs.
Oh, you got to get one in every movie. And they, so he's not just metaphorically returning to that world. It really feels like another world.
Yeah, yeah. And you got Adriana Palicki there. She
yeah.
kind of wants to make a name for herself too. But yeah, there's rules. You cannot conduct business on Continental ground, so you can't kill.
The only reason I agreed to do the podcast here. It's got to be in a consecrated grounds.
Yeah, which is, it feels very Highlander, and I think one of these guys was attached to a Highlander reboot, or might still be, because there were rules with that in like Highlander, like you can't fight in like a holy ground.
Okay.
They never said why. I don't think they ever showed what the consequences were, to be honest.
They were like, well, a long time ago we formed the Continental, and we agreed.
Oh, so it's linked?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just got a solid cast, solid action. I mean, a lot of the cast members die. Willem Dafoe doesn't make it out of it. Adriana doesn't make it out of it. Yeah, and at the end, he gets his revenge. He remembers his wife, and he gets a new dog.
That's right.
A scarier dog. And that seemed like a good enough ending.
No, I needed more.
They ended up doing John Wick 2.
I'm thinking I'm back.
Which I was excited for. I didn't think it was very needed. But I'm like, okay, let's see where you go. If anything, there will be some good action scenes. But without further ado, can you read the plot synopsis
All right,
there?
John Wick. You called it John Wick 2. John Wick Chapter 2.
Sorry, John Wick Chapter 2.
Legendary hitman John Wick is forced out of retirement again by a former associate plotting to seize control of a shadowy international assassins guild. Bound by a blood oath to help him, John travels to Rome, where he squares off against some of the world's deadliest killers.
Okay, well, I like that he goes to Italy, the motherland, Mamma Mia, pasta. I've never been. Too many Italians there.
Did you see the, I saw someone posted a picture of Alien, and then it was Italian.
Do you know how many people have sent me that over like the last 5 years? Yes, I've seen it.
Oh, I was saving it for you. I was like,
no,
this is really going to blow his mind today.
No, I've seen it a million times. So yeah, John Wick, the first one was fun because of the revenge aspect, and in this one, he owes someone a favor. Already not like super into it. He has to get his car back at least. There's something like that in the beginning.
And not just his car, because once he gets the car back, opens up the glove compartment, picture of his wife in there, an old birthday card.
Yes.
So there was also an emotional aspect to it.
Yes, and he gives the car to John Leguizamo, who was in the first one. And then John Leguizamo leaves, and hopefully he never comes back, because I'm a little tired of John Leguizamo. He complains so much. Every article I see of John Leguizamo is him complaining about some stupid bullshit. And it's like, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Shut up, Luigi. Quote,
yeah.
unquote.
You know what? He's always bitches like, not enough representation. Why do they do this? I'm like, you're not Italian and you played Luigi. Shut up. Also, you're banking on people not remembering The Pest. You really don't want them to go back and watch The Pest, John. You're going to get in a lot of trouble. Anyway.
He's walking around. He's like, this Tony guy's coming after me. I don't know what I'm going to do.
He's always like, that's offensive and this. I'm like, dude, I've seen The Pest. I've seen your Asian accent. You don't want people digging up your stuff, John. Like, stop it. Stop it. You're putting a target on your back.
So, yeah, the first movie has that raw emotion.
Yeah.
I mean, from the first 5 minutes, it's heartbreaking watching his wife pass away.
Yeah.
And then you really feel it when they kill his puppy. Like, the rest of the movie, you want to see him kill all of them.
Yeah, this one, and he doesn't want to do it. He says, like, so you find out that he got very rich doing his previous job, but like he owed a blood debt to this very famous, like the very like powerful man.
Yeah, the way that he was able to get out of the mob business.
Yeah.
He was asked to do one last big favor for Vigo from the last movie.
Yes.
We don't know the details of it, but he had to kill a bunch of people. The only way he could get it done was with Santonio's help. Is that his name? Santino? I forget.
D'Antonio, I think it was.
Yeah, he needed his help.
Yes.
And in the world of the Continental and the High Table and this whole thing, you can create a blood oath. Someone does you a favor, they put their bloody thumbprint on one side, and in the future, you have to do a favor for them.
Yes.
You can't kill them, and if you don't hold up your end of the bargain, the High Table will come and kill you.
Yes, this is the first we're hearing of the High Table, I think, which is who I don't think we see members of it, but I don't think we've ever actually seen them all together at any point.
No, I don't think so.
They pretty much run this secret society of assassins. They're very much in control of everything, and they don't like their rules being broken.
Yeah.
So yeah, the guy, he wants John to come back, and he tells him, he's like, if you would have stayed retired, I wouldn't have bothered you, but you came back. And like, it's kind of hard to be like on John's side with this. Because it's like, and even Winston's just like, oh, what did you expect?
Yeah.
Like, did you not think this day would come? Like, it's like, John, did you have no prep for this? Or
well, it's even funnier because in chapter 3, John becomes this person because he goes up to a Halle Berry's character. He's like, you owe me an oath.
Yeah. He's being a real asshole about it now, and then he becomes the asshole.
But it becomes kind of a literal representation of what Winston warned him about in the first one.
Yeah.
Like, if you dip so much as a pinky in this pond, something might come up and grab you. And now
we're seeing
somebody does.
So yeah, the guy, he gets rejected by John, so he blows up his house. Doesn't kill the dog. They made sure to never kill a dog again.
I think they announced, like, we are not killing any more dogs.
By the way, I feel bad that I like bought these Blu-rays when they came out, because then last year they did a series of Blu-rays that each cover had a different dog on it. It was like a Target exclusive. So the first one had like whatever, it was the Beagle or whatever. And I'm like, oh man, I would have liked the dog covers for these movies. Shit. Yeah, so what this one does right, the action.
The action was
The
great.
action is pretty solid in this.
I will say, I remember feeling like the action's a bit repetitive. Like, you see him take guys, throw them, and then shoot them so many times.
Yeah.
But they do put the action into different locations,
Yes.
new environments, which is interesting. They introduce the new bulletproof jackets.
Yeah, those kind of become like a crutch going forward.
Well, it's just funny how they've now permanently altered the choreography of the movies where everyone needs to be doing this at all times, holding up their suit jacket.
But it's also weird because then we see like people who are super armored later on, and their armor is nowhere near as good as these stupid suit jackets. Like, come on.
But I do love between scenes, you always see him like smacking it so all the bullets fall out.
Yeah. So his mission in this, hired by the guy to kill the guy's sister because she got promoted to high table and he wants that role. So, and I like that John's just like, it can't be done. He's like, well, you got to figure out a way to do it. So he's got to go kill her, and then he'll be in the clear. He ends up well, he doesn't really kill her.
Yeah, he finds her at the coronation where she's about to be like, coronated, I guess, to the high table.
Yeah.
And as soon as she sees him, she knows that he's there to kill her.
Yeah.
So she takes her own life instead. She asks him if he fears damnation. And he says yes.
Yes.
It's unusually contemplative, take a break from the action.
Yeah, it was. I actually really liked that part. I think Common is chasing him.
Yeah, that's
Rapper
right.
Common is chasing him.
Well, I think this movie started to realize if we want to keep making sequels, we can't just keep throwing goons at John and have him slay them.
Yeah.
You need somebody who can actually stand toe-to-toe with him. And I think Common was one of the first attempts at that.
Yeah.
And then I think in 3 and 4, they start to give the characters more personality.
Yeah. Especially since they're planning to build this out into a world, we're learning.
Yes.
Yeah, so he ends up doing the mission, and then like the bad guys try to turn on him because they want to clean up the evidence.
It's one of my favorite moments of the movie is so one thing I loved in the first one is when people aren't allowed to finish a sentence.
Yeah.
When Vigo, for example, calls John, he's like, look, I know my son killed your dog. He shouldn't have done that, and John just hangs up on him.
Yeah.
Or even when he finds Yosef and he's like, it's just a dog, before he can finish the sentence, he shoots him. So in this movie, after John kills Santino's sister, he did the job. Now Santino calls him and he's like, look, you killed my sister. What kind of man would I be if I didn't get revenge? But like 3 words in, John just hangs up on him.
Yeah, because he knew it was coming. He knew it was coming. He had to do it, but he knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he has to like, he basically now needs to get revenge on Santino and also to get him to like stop killing him.
Right.
So Santino puts a hit out on him. A bunch of assassins are being called to go after him, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, you get the montage of like the big guy that he has to shoot like 5 times.
Oh, the big sumo
big
guy. There's a big like sumo guy with like
Yeah.
a long ponytail and everything.
And he keeps shooting him.
Yeah.
He shoots him in the head and he's walking away and the guy's like, and he shoots him, does a double tap, shoots him. You see him kill people with a pencil.
Yes,
So we
which
see
they
the
mentioned.
payoff to
I think they
that.
mentioned in the first one, and then they bring it up again in the beginning. Peter Stormare brings it up, so you get to see that finally. The one scene that does take me out of it is when him and Common are using snipers and they're quietly shooting, and it's just like, that's not how snipers work, but okay.
I like that, actually. They were like walking in public, so they're just quietly shooting at each other and
But
nobody
that's not
notices.
how they work. That's not how they work.
I just feel like the longer these movies go, the more and more we deviate from reality.
Yeah, at least there were people around. When we get to the fourth one, it's like, where are all the people?
Well, it's
There's
like
a lot going on that people should be like, what the hell?
Yeah, they learned from Zack Snyder, Man of Steel. You have to just. Well, what they needed though in Batman v Superman, they made sure to say many times, like, we have evacuated the area.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah. So yeah, then he's just on a mission to kill Santino and survive all these hitmen.
The Bowery King shows up, Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, okay.
That's where his introduction.
Okay. So again, the secret society stuff. It's fun, a little bit of flavor. This one goes a little bit more into it. We're learning that there's multiple Continentals. Franco Nero is the head of the Rome one. And I do like that he's just like, are you going after the Pope? And then he's just like, no. He's like, oh thank God. Like, it was one of those just like he probably would be allowed to go after the Pope, but you can tell Franco Nero is like, please promise me you're not going after the Pope.
If not for the puppy, that's who he'd be going after. He's like, I can't kill God for this cancer thing. Next best thing.
Pope's just like, what? I don't know what you're talking about.
You cursed my wife.
I didn't do anything. So we learn about that. We learn about, like, there's a secret shop you can go to where a nice British gentleman will give you cool guns.
Right.
There's a tailor you can go to that'll give you bulletproof armor.
Keanu Reeves' real tailor in real life.
Oh, really? Really? And then some Jewish gentlemen take care of the banking and personal belongings. And
yeah, you were upset about Mario. First, there was Harry Potter with those little goblins who run the banks.
What's wrong with them? What's wrong with them? What do they have to do with Jewish people?
I think you're driving through a tunnel right now.
Also, speaking of the Jews, I noticed in this scene when I was watching on Peacock.
Thank you, by the way, for this Mel Gibson right in front of me.
We haven't got to that yet. So I had it on Peacock earlier today. Like I have them, but like I only have them only in 4K. So upstairs I don't have that. So I'm like, oh, they're on Peacock. I noticed the streaming versions don't have the subtitles baked in.
Which I assume they were hard coded into the movie because they do all the stylistic stuff where like Boogeyman will be big, bold.
I'm wondering if you have to select English to get, because I assume they're different for every version.
I tried. I turned subtitles on, and
that's weird. Right?
It just says speaking Russian.
Well, that's weird because, I mean, obviously they could be baked in, but it's like weird to not even have that option. Yeah. But I noticed when the Jewish guy was just like, goodbye, Mr. Wick, I'm like, wait, I remember him saying something before. And I'm like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah, these movies are hard to stream properly because at first I was watching on Peacock and then I stopped that without the subtitles. For John Wick 4, I rented it off Amazon, and I think they tried to put in some feature that levels out the audio. So as soon as it gets loud, suddenly it'll drop like 20 decibels.
Yeah.
And so then I turn the volume up, so when it gets back to normal, now it's way too loud.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I still get like physical media, depending on the movie.
Yeah.
Depending on the movie. If it's a movie like this where like the visuals are like top notch and there's really good sound stuff, even though I don't have the best sound setup, I'm like, I need to get the disc because streaming versions are really fucking annoying. Like, what happened recently? So Immaculate. You saw it in theaters, right?
Yeah.
It looked fine.
Yeah.
People, like, even the director had to, like, come out and address it because the streaming version is just way too dark. And, like, he's just like, yeah, I don't know what happened here. Apparently the Apple version is the closest to how it's supposed to look. For whatever reason, when these movies hit streaming, they just go through different compression and whatnot.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's an audio engineer, and he knows that, like, the audio and streaming stuff is, like, garbage.
Yeah.
It's like, but we have to do it to these specifications. I don't know why. So it's really annoying. So, yeah, if you can get physical media, go ahead. But I understand if you don't want to. I'm not one of those guys. Like, physical or nothing. I'm like, it depends on how much space you have. Not everyone has a stupid video store. But, yeah, so they're getting more into the weeds with that. Then you find out the Bowery where it's like, oh, the Secret Society of Assassins also has homeless pigeon people who send messages for them.
It's Wi-Fi, but no one can track it. And
but then also, in addition to that, there's another messaging system, which is tattooed ladies in pink dresses on old school phone things. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it started to get The one that started to get me was all the homeless people in New York are secretly assassins.
Yeah. No, they're not assassins. They're helping the assassins.
Oh, okay, that's right. They work for the Bowery King.
Yeah, who is Lawrence Fishburne.
That's
so
right.
You get a reunion between Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne from The Matrix.
Which was nice.
Yeah.
And but I was already kind of rolling my eyes at, okay, this is starting to get a bit ridiculous. And then the Bowery King is so theatrical, which is his thing, right? He thinks of himself as a king. But that's where I start to feel like I like the more grounded first John Wick.
Yes.
As ridiculous as the premise is, it's like they somehow make it believable this one guy can take on an army. And the more, and I like the hints at a bigger world, but the more ridiculous it gets, I wouldn't necessarily say it's wrong to take the story in that direction, but it's a matter of preference. In the movies also start to get kind of funnier, they get goofier.
From what I heard, like Chad, I think, really likes that stuff.
Oh,
and the other guy liked the more personal stuff. That's what I heard. Because the other guy left the franchise, right?
I think he did. And then
he went and did like Atomic Blonde, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, which is okay.
And then the writer, Derek Kolstad, who wrote the first movie, they essentially didn't bring him back for the fourth one.
Yeah.
And he's been really cool about it, where he's like, look, I'm not going to complain. I got to make these awesome movies with Keanu Reeves. But I think that's part of why you're seeing a shift in tone.
Yeah, yeah. And again, they're trying to branch out, which we'll talk about a little bit toward the end of our final chapter here. So yeah, they were getting like a little bit more into that stuff. And I'm like, I mean, it's kind of interesting, but you can have all that as long as like the mission is cool. And I'm just not as invested in the mission this time, because it's just he owed a guy a favor and the guy was an asshole. Yeah. Action's still top notch though. If you're gonna do
top
it,
notch. Some of the emotion comes back for me when Santino's like, I have to get revenge on you after dragging you out back out of retirement, and I get mad at him. Yeah. Not as mad as I was at Yosef. So that brings back some of it. Yeah. The action's awesome, like you said. Yeah. But also I do think the action, I guess I said it already, it does feel a little bit like just more of the same, but in cool new environments. Yeah. And then I think 3 and 4 start to introduce other weapons, nunchucks, also new environments.
Yeah, they really upped the ante there. The whole art installation fight at the end was kind of fun with the mirrors.
I guess I'm just, for some reason, I feel like I've seen that so many times where when you're facing off against the villain, it's in the fun house and like, they're over there. Oh no, wait, they're over there.
Yeah, which is, of course, famously done in Zardoz.
That's right, yeah.
And what was it? Was it Man with the Golden Gun, I believe? Have you ever seen the Key and Peele skit making fun of that?
No.
Oh my God. So they're making fun of like Man with the Golden Gun and the Hall of Mirrors. But like, it's the thing where like the agent figures out who the real guy is and he's still trying to act cool. But every time the gun's on him, he loses confidence. He's like, you'll never be able to find. Like he like starts squinting and the guy's like, you're right there. It's like, or am I? But here's another issue I have with the film. It really dates the film. Remember when Hollywood was trying to get us to really care about Ruby Rose? Remember that? What the fuck was that about? That woman cannot act. Thankfully, she doesn't talk in this. Where did that come from? I don't know where that came from. I remember I was working in another state on a TV show, and people were like, you got to watch the new Orange is the New Black season. It's got the hottest girl ever. And then I watched the first episode, and I went, where was that hottest girl ever? And they're like, Ruby Rose. And I was like, huh? Oh. Okay, and then suddenly she was just fucking everywhere?
Yeah. Yeah. She was in Batgirl for a bit.
Yeah, well, no, Batwoman. They did one season of Batwoman, and she apparently was, like, terrible to them.
Yeah, well, the story evolves over time. She was like, I'm allergic to latex, so I can't wear the suit. And then they were like, she's just not great to work with. I don't know who's telling the truth.
I don't know.
Sides.
All I know is she can't act, and she was in everything for a while. Like, I remember seeing that stupid Resident Evil movie, and I'm like, there she is again. Okay, now it looks like she does, like, direct-to-video stuff that no one watches. I'm like, all right, that's where you belong, Ruby Rose.
Yeah, but this is the part of you can see them with each movie just trying to figure out, how do we expand the franchise? Yeah. And so you see the prototype in this movie where it's throwing villains that have a little bit more personality. There's something unique about them.
I'm the deaf one.
Right, exactly.
Ooh, I'm the sumo one.
Yeah, deaf didn't work. Okay, let's try a blind guy.
Oh, yeah. I think my favorite underrated cameo in the first one was Kevin Nash, the wrestler.
But what was he in the movie?
He was the big, tall, blonde guy who like John puts the gun up to, and then he decides not to fight him.
Why don't you take the day off?
Well, because Kevin Nash, like, you've seen The Punisher.
Yeah.
He's the Russian in The Punisher.
Oh, the Thomas Jane one. Okay.
Yeah. But Kevin Nash is like a wrestler who's very tall. So as you get older, like your back gives out. Like you're not. It was one of those like if that movie had been made like 15 years earlier, he would have had a big fight. But they like threw him in there anyway because he was also a stunt guy. He was super shredder in Ninja Turtles too.
Nice.
But anyway,
man, nobody could have survived that.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, so Ruby Rose, that was like dating me when I got back, and I was just like, oh god. I'm like, that was a period. That was a period of time. But yeah, eventually he shoots, as lackluster as this one was plot wise, when he shoots Santino on the Continental, and you find out that they're all gonna go after him, like that made me invested again. I was like, wait a minute, I kind of like where this is going now.
What have you done?
And it was another moment of not letting someone finish their sentence.
Yeah.
Santino's like, we're on Continental grounds. They make new dinners every day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get bored of being here.
Yeah.
And John just shoots him. It's
I like that
awesome.
we go to the roof of the Continental, and it's clearly the building that was used in Spider-Man. Remember when Spider-Man drops off Mary Jane?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the church is right next. I know there's a building in New York with a garden across from a church. I'm like, oh, it's that building.
I only remember it because in my Spider-Man recap, I mentioned that moment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Mary Jane looks whimsically on. And someone's like, don't you mean wistfully?
Wixfully, actually.
Nice.
After Spider-Man swung away, they were like, intruder! And they shot her in the head 15 times. So yeah, the ending was really good. I liked what they were saying. I like that Winston gives him a head start.
Yeah,
He's
gives
like-
him 1 hour.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
after all the buildup, after 2 movies of, and there's a few times in this movie when it's like, if you can just get your hand on the steps of the Continental,
Yeah.
okay, you're safe.
I
you're
like
safe.
that when they're, yeah.
They made it feel like you can't kill someone here, even if you tried.
Yeah.
And then he just pulls out his gun and shoots him, and you
Yeah.
can feel the gravity of that moment. And then it is such good setup for 3.
Yes.
Where John's like, just tell them, Winston,
Yeah.
I'll kill them.
I'll kill them all.
I find with each movie it becomes, it's like its throat is slowly closing up. It just becomes harder and
Probably
harder.
because it's been punched so many times. Yeah, so that got me at the end. I'm like, okay, because I want John Wick to live. So I'm like, now I'm kind of on board for the next one. I wasn't so on board with him owing a favor, and the guy ended up just kind of being a douchebag and whatever. I'm like, but him fighting for his life, I'm like, I'm on board. I just hope they don't get lost in the weeds more with all that secret society high table stuff. And now I'm going to read John Wick Chapter 3.
John Wick Chapter 3,
Yeah.
Parabellum.
The only one with the goddamn, okay. I didn't get to see this one in theaters, by the way. So I saw the second one in theaters because I love the first one. This one I missed, but a part was spoiled for me early on.
Oh, no.
In my Discord, someone wrote, Tony, you're going to love the beginning of John Wick 3. And whenever people say, Tony, you're going to love, and they write a new thing, that means there's an eye stabbing in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Unusual for such a violent franchise. It's pretty rarely gory. So
Yeah.
that moment really sticks out.
Yeah. When did this come out? Was this 2019 or 2020? Maybe it says on here. Hold on. Because it's weird that I didn't see it. Yeah, 2019. I guess there was a lot going on in 2019.
Yeah, something. I don't know.
So I didn't see it until Blu-ray. And again, I thought it was the ending of a trilogy because I avoided spoilers.
Well, this will wrap everything up in a
Yep.
nice bow.
Here we go. Super assassin John Wick has a $14 million price tag on his head after killing a member of the High Table, the shadowy International Assassins Guild. Now excommunicado and with an army of the world's most ruthless hitmen and women on his trail, John must find a way to survive in this third chapter of the adrenaline-fueled action series. Everyone's after John Wick. Everyone in the world. I love that whole opening where they're all against stuff.
Everyone's checking their phones.
I like the guy who tries to attack him a little too early in the library.
He's like, who's going to notice?
Yeah, that was pretty. Breaking his head on the book, that was fucking awesome. After breaking his jaw and then snapping his neck on the book, that was so cool. I love that he goes to the doctor. Is the doctor the Keymaster from the Matrix movies?
Oh,
It looked
I'm
like
not sure.
him. I like that he's doing surgery on him, but he has to stop exactly at the time.
Well, they do. Rules and consequences become such a theme of 3 and 4.
Yes.
And having that doctor, no one's going to know. How could anyone possibly know that he didn't stick to the time?
Yeah.
But he stops on the dot. He tells John where to find the medicine. He's like, I can't grab it for you.
Yeah.
But he's like, they're going to know that I told you where to grab the medicine from.
Yeah.
So you have to shoot me twice
Yes.
to make it look real.
Yeah.
So they set it up. I mean, the first 2 movies already set it up, and this just puts such a bow on it that you do not break the rules.
Yes. Because we're seeing the consequences of that now. Also, the Penguin from Gotham has a cameo in it. Did you notice him? You ever watch Gotham?
I watched a little bit of it.
Okay.
Not enough to know who the Penguin was.
He was like the main guy in Gotham.
I mean, I watched it years ago.
Okay.
Back before even Ruby Rose was a thing.
Well, the pink suit ladies who do all the calling, one of them just happens to be a guy, and it's the Penguin from Gotham.
Oh, I remember that guy. Yeah, he
I'm like,
sticks
oh,
out.
there's the Penguin. Okay. Like, I guess he's just hanging out there. So yeah, it's got a great start.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I remember thinking, it's like a musical where
Yeah.
it starts with a medley of all the themes you're going to see.
Yes.
Because you get a little preview of the motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see John using, so this is what I was saying about 2, where it felt like more of the same, but
Yeah.
in new environments. But here, they're fighting in like an antique store, and you see, it's like, it's fun to watch a competent person do something they're really good at.
Yeah.
So even watching John grab all those different parts of the gun, I don't even know what he's doing. I don't know why there isn't just a gun he can grab, but he's like taking it apart, putting it together.
Yeah.
Then there's throwing knives or throwing axes.
Yeah, minus the eye stabbing. That probably is my favorite section of the movie. It's him just like throwing all the. I love that
Yeah.
he grabs the guy and the guy is getting hit with knives
Yeah.
and he's just putting them all in their head. Like, it's so freaking cool.
But I think like that 20-minute stretch that starts with the tall guy fighting him
Yeah.
and goes into the antique store, the horses, and
Yeah.
the motorcycle might be one of the best like 20-minute segments of the franchise.
What got me excited for this movie is when they did a behind the scenes photo and it's just him on the horse pointing a gun to the guy on a motorcycle. Like, all right, I'm in for this. It's just a very, very intense opening. Really, really cool. And then the adjudicator shows up, and I go, oh, here we go, this bullshit. So now the high table has an adjudicator. And their whole thing is anyone who helped John Wick who's not loyal to the table will be punished. So Winston has 7 days to get his affairs in order, or else it's gonna be deconsecrated. And then the Bowery King has to get his affairs in order.
He gave John 7 bullets, so he's
Yes.
gonna get sliced 7 times.
Yes, and we forgot to mention Bowery King was actually sliced by John Wick in the past.
Oh, that's
But
right.
John Wick told him, like, hey, you can waste your bullet on me and die, or you can keep pressure on that and live. So now they're cool.
It's pretty much the same way you and I met.
Pretty much. So this adjudicator's going around, and then, like, it's fine. It's fine at first, and then, Wick. Oh, yeah, Wick goes to where he was trained.
Right.
And this
The
will lead-
Riscaroma.
Yes, played by Angelica Houston, who this will lead into the ballerina spin-off that they're doing eventually. Because so I guess they get like orphans and they raise them here, and the men do wrestling and the women do ballet, but
Right.
secretly they're all being trained to be like super assassins. I don't know how no government organization has found out about this unless they're all in the pockets.
They're above government organizations.
I guess so.
The Continental, spoilers, tells us that the high table's been around since before the Roman Empire.
Yes, that is true. So I guess they're like the Templar or Illuminati,
The Illuminati,
or something like
yeah.
that. Yeah. What if they're aliens?
I mean, it could be. They would know about it more than anybody else.
Yeah. So he ends up going to where, like Egypt or something.
Casablanca.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
No,
Like
yeah,
the
that's
movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. He doesn't say "play it again, Sam."
No, he didn't say that in the movie.
The
And
original.
then Woody Allen made the movie Play It Again, Sam, based on the misquote.
Yes. What does he actually say?
Sam, run that by me again.
I thought he said, play it for me, Sam.
I think
You
that's right.
played
I
it
have
for
no idea.
her, play it for me.
And Darth Vader never says, Luke, I am your father.
Well, that one's easy. Everyone knows that. So yeah, he runs into Halle Berry down there.
right.
Is
It
that
happens to bump into her.
just happens to
Like,
bump
hey.
into her? No, she like calls out for him, right? She like, because she gets her guys to like intercept him and stop him from being assassinated.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember the details of that fight scene.
So
right
is that a
before
Continental? What does she do again?
She's a fellow assassin.
Yeah, I know she was like a former assassin. I know she has a kid that she's trying to protect.
Yeah, a daughter that even she doesn't know where she is.
Yeah.
And somehow protecting her daughter involved John's help.
Okay.
So that's why they have a blood oath and
Yeah.
she owes him a favor. And so now she's the John of chapter 2 where she's like, don't you dare.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't have a choice, Sophia. Right? He needs her
Yeah.
because she has connections and can tell him how to find the elder, the one who sits above the high table.
Yeah, which we learn is like not that big of a deal. We find out. Yeah, that's god damn it. Okay. So I'm still on board with the revenge thing here. I'm tolerating all this high table shit. But it leads to a fun action sequence where they're like dealing with some asshole, but like her dogs have Kevlar on them. And the dogs are now participating in the assassination, which is cool.
They're finding ways to get more creative with the fight scenes.
Yeah.
And we also have another appearance by someone from Game of Thrones.
Oh, who's this?
I can't remember. Oh, Baraka? Is that his name in the movie?
Baraka from Mortal Kombat?
It might actually be the same name, but it's the guy that tells them where to find the elder.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So that scene. God damn it. Okay. So the elder, you have to go into the desert and walk in a direction, and on the third day, whatever, you will find him. And
Once you pass out,
yeah.
the elder will either find you or he won't. Which is I always get such anxiety in
Yeah.
movies when they give unclear instructions.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I would never trust that. I'm like, did I walk in the right direction?
Yeah.
And like, what if I get really thirsty and I pass out too soon? It's like in Shawshank Redemption where he's like, there's a certain rock.
Yeah.
It's one rock that doesn't belong. And under that rock, I've buried the thing that you need. That always stresses me out.
Yeah, it does, but like then he gets to the elder and they have like SUVs and shit. It's like you couldn't have just told him to fucking drive in this direction. Like what the fuck was this? How many people are they always checking to see if people are dying in the desert? Do they get a heads up that
Right, if somebody was sick that day, I missed my route where I checked
Yeah.
to see if there's anyone passed out.
Yeah.
And what are you testing there? It's like, we know, John, that you're capable of killing hundreds of people.
Yeah.
77 on-screen kills in chapter 1 alone.
Yes.
We know you're capable of killing. You've been shot a million times. We know you've got great willpower. We just need to see if you can be really thirsty and still walk. Then you're worthy of meeting with the elder.
I guess it's because he'll be dehydrated and he won't be able to shoot as good.
Yeah. I guess.
So they meet the elder, played by that guy. I always forget his name. And he's basically like, why do you want to live? He's like, so I can remember my wife. I was like, okay. He's like, well, look, I'll give you a chance. We'll call off the excommunicado, but you have to kill Winston because he's not loyal to us anymore.
You have to kill that'll be your first job, and the rest of your life you now work for us and you take our orders.
Yes.
But you'll be alive and you
Yes.
can remember your wife.
Yes. So he's basically selling his soul to them.
Right.
Which Winston tells him he's doing afterwards. And he has to show how loyal he is by cutting off his finger.
They were like, we just needed the ring. You have to cut the finger off. Oh.
And I'm sure there's a visual, like, the effects guys going like, now we got to digitally delete his fucking finger in every movie. Thanks.
And we have to always remember which finger it is, which
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah. So he does that. And I'm like, okay. Is that the end of the movie? What's going on here? And then he goes back, and then Winston's like, you're going to team up with me. And we're going to go after the high table. We got to save the Continental from the high table. And it's like, okay, so now he's just a pawn for Winston. Like, and the movie starts to lose me there. I'm like, come on.
He does change his mind shockingly easily.
Yeah.
Winston's like, do you want to die as the Baba Yaga, the
Yeah.
last man people see before they die?
Yeah.
Or do you want to die as John Wick,
Yeah.
husband, the man that your wife loved?
Mm.
And I'm like, it's a good point. But did you really need that explained to you? Like, you hadn't thought of that? Like, my wife probably wouldn't approve of all this killing. And the movie it's a really strange movie because it ends pretty much where it started.
Yeah.
Even the $14 million bounty on his head at the end of the movie, they like write it on the board. And I'm like, it started at 14 million. The high table's still after you. The only difference is now you're going to go after the high table directly and get revenge and everything.
I did kind of like this though, this whole like last stand at the Continental. Well, leading to the Continental, that motorcycle scene is not good. That motorcycle scene
I feel
sucks.
dumb. I heard you say that when I went back and listened to the John Wick 4 review you guys did.
Yeah.
Or like the brief one you did on the live stream.
Yeah.
And I felt dumb because I tend not, I get blind with CGI. I just don't see
Really?
it.
I
And you're like,
see
the
it.
background's so obviously fake. And even rewatching it yesterday, I'm like, I don't know. Like with all the motion blur, because they're moving so fast, I thought the motorcycle scene was
no,
cool.
I see it. Keep
And
in
the
mind,
way he kept flipping the motorcycles.
I've only ever seen this in 4K on my big screen, so
Okay.
I'm like really paying attention to detail, and I'm like, this is rough. This does not look as good as the rest of the movie. But what's his name? Is it Mark Dacascos?
Yeah, Dacascos, yeah.
I love him in this.
He's great. Yeah, this is where I think they're starting. Like I said, in chapter 2, you have the prototypes of like, how do we bring in characters that have some personality and can stand toe to toe with John Wick. And I think his character's name is Zero in the movie, but he does a pretty good job.
I love that he's like this badass dude. He kills Lawrence Fishburne. He's helping the adjudicator. And they get
You
into
hate
like,
adjudicators.
yeah,
I've always hated them.
they're the worst. So yeah, they're fighting, and I like that John puts his hand on the Continental and Lance Reddick stops it.
Sir, put your weapon down.
But once they're in there, he like, since he's not in kill mode, he's like, by the way, John, I'm like a huge fan. Like he starts fanboying, much like Adam did in our episode with the Nostalgia Critic.
Yeah. It was hard to watch.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, he comes in, he's like, I'm like a huge fan. I think it was really cool meeting you.
He becomes like an audience surrogate.
Yeah.
He's like, I love John Wick 2. You know, it's a little bit more the same. There's one great moment where John sits on the couch in the Continental, and then he sits right next to him. So John's like, gets up and moves over. But it does do the, so I think he's a great character.
Yeah.
I think he's really fun. It does the cliched thing of, John, we're the same, you and I.
Yeah, he's
I've
like,
seen
no,
it
we're
so
not.
many times. I do like how John, though, he's a man of such few words. He doesn't elaborate on it. He's like, we're not the same.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. No. As he walks off.
You're right about him being short with words. In the previous one with Santino, he's like, how will you kill me? Maybe her pen, maybe that cane, maybe you'll do this. And John's just like, my hands. Like, that's all he
Your
says.
throat.
So yeah, I like the fight he has with Mark in the. I love there's a special room in the
Yeah.
Continental. So we only use this floor for certain business, so we know what's under the table, so no one can kill each other.
Right. Everything's made of glass.
Yeah. Which leads to a really fun fight scene with them being shattered and everything. And I do like as he's dying, he's like, that was a pretty cool fight we had. Like he's like real proud of it. He's like, I'm glad I went out like this. Thanks, man.
I do think, I find that for the first 3 movies, there's a final fight that is a little underwhelming to me, especially
Yeah.
after everything you've already seen, where John versus an army, it's so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
When it's one-on-one, I feel like I start to see the limits of his, like Keanu Reeves is great,
Yeah.
but when he's fighting 2 guys that were in the raid,
Yeah.
and literally in the fight scene, they're like helping him up. They have their knives at his throat.
Yeah.
And like, I get the kind of joke of it is
Yeah.
that they want to have a legitimate fight with John Wick, but that's the kind of less grounded. Like,
Yeah.
even when Zero is like, that was a pretty cool fight, right? Like I
Yeah.
like the moment, it's funny, but I don't know, that's where it starts to get into ridiculous territory, and I prefer the more grounded.
Yeah. And then I do like the Matrix callback.
Guns. Lots of guns.
But then it becomes like a conflict between Winston and the high table, and John Wick and Lance Reddick are just like the soldiers for this. Like, all right, we kind of lost out on the whole John Wick part of this. And,
I
this is
do
kinda
love
cool.
that whole sequence though, where Winston, he's just chilling in that room.
Yeah, he's like in
drinking.
the big vault with the dog. Like,
And then
he's
when they
just hanging
find out about, they tell John they got armor upgrades.
Yeah.
And then you see him trying to work out how to kill them. And he's like, I have to shoot each of them like 7 times.
Yeah.
Or get like in between the cracks of their helmet,
Yeah.
between like where it connects with their shirt. And then when they go back, like him and Lance Reddick are so frustrated. Like, we need better guns. And Winston's like, you
Yeah,
know,
we got plenty of them. And he's got like the martini. He's like, all right, good luck out there.
yeah, it's such a fun scene.
Winston is starting to become the star of this series. I mean, the 4th one is his movie. We'll get to, but It is like fun seeing him and Lance Reddick shoot all those guys, but yeah, you kind of miss out on the personal aspect. And then I guess the adjudicator is like, okay, well, enough people died. How about we renegotiate? I mean, we
Well,
can
she
figure
works
this out.
with them to come up with a cover story. She's like, the only reason you fought us was so you could show your strength, and we let you stay on as the Continental.
And he's like, yes,
Exactly.
But of course, one thing needs to happen.
Got to kill John.
He's got to kill John Wick. And Winston just unloads on John Wick, knocks him off the building and everything.
Yeah. Good thing we know, like, the one thing that won't hurt John is falling.
Yes, he's immune to falling. And no one goes down to check on him right away. So yeah, he gets picked up by the Bowery King, who's still alive. And then that's when the cliffhanger for this one is them being like, let's go kill the fucking high table.
Are you pissed off, John?
I love he gives him the finger because he's like half dead. And it ends there. Again, when I first popped this in, I thought this was the end of a trilogy. And I'm like, oh, I guess we're doing
That's a
another
weird ending.
Yeah,
All right,
it is
well,
a
I'm
bit-
glad that's all wrapped up. But it is kind of funny when you think about it, that at this point, the adjudicator has good reason to, John's probably alive, but I don't want the high table to know I screwed up. So I'm just going to pretend he's gone and dead.
Yeah.
So John could walk away,
Yeah.
just fake his death and live a peaceful life. Which
Yeah.
is basically where he ends things in chapter 4. A little ambiguous. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, it's yet to be determined. But speaking of 4. Would you like to read?
Oh, please. John Wick, Keanu Reeves.
Ooh.
Which none of these other ones felt the need to point that out.
No, this one did.
Okay. Uncovers a path to defeating the High Table, but before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes.
That's rough. Yeah, so this one I saw in theaters. I reviewed on our wrap up, and I was going to be lazy and be like, hey, let's just play that fucking clip here. But then I forgot you weren't on that one.
You could have just inserted me in.
It's from a different wrap
Yeah,
up.
you
like,
just pause everybody else on screen. Like, why are they so still every time Gil speaks?
this is the second one I saw in theaters. For some reason, I'm only seeing the even number John Wicks in theaters. I don't know why. I had fun with it, but this one is stupid as hell. It's literally, okay, at least it's another revenge thing.
True.
He's like, well, I have to kill all the members of the High Table so they stop sending assassins after me. And it's like, well, they just replaced those members.
I'm just going to kill them too.
And I'm gonna kill them too. It's like, John, you gotta have a better plan here, buddy. I think it opens up with him killing the new elder.
It is weird that they felt the need to say there was a different elder in the last movie.
Yeah.
And now since then we've replaced him. I don't know if there was something behind the scenes and like we have to address this.
I guess they just didn't want to recast the guy, and they're
Yeah.
like, well, there's just a new elder now.
But not for long.
What is the elder?
He sits above the High Table.
Does he give them orders?
He just sits. He sits there. And if people are dehydrated, he picks them up.
But like, what does he do?
The High Table's like elder. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, wait, it's just what does he do? Like
Yeah.
he just hangs out in the tent in the desert. He's not well armored. Anyone could come and kill him.
That's like asking, what does Winston do? Someone asks at one point.
Winston
like,
at least manages the hotel.
That's true. Like, is the manager in?
Yeah.
He's always in.
Yeah.
Like, he's always there.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I don't understand the hierarchy here of the High Table and the answer to this elder who doesn't really do much, I assume. I guess
I'm sure as they expand the Wickverse, you will get answers to all of these questions.
Okay. So yeah, John kills him.
Yep.
Probably not a good idea. People tell him that's probably not a good idea. So now the High Table really wants him to die. He's hiding out in Japan.
Right. The Osaka Continental.
Yes. With what's his face? God damn, why am I blanking on his name? Hiroyuki Sanada. Whoever
Oh,
loves.
that's right. Yeah.
Yes.
The guy from Shogun.
Yes. Scorpion from that terrible Mortal Kombat movie. He's the head of that Continental. Everyone like has a history with John. They all respect him. But yeah, you know, business can't be conducted, I guess, unless the High Table is like, no, go in there and kill that fucker.
Once you deconsecrate it,
Yes.
then you can do anything there.
Which is going to happen. I like that his daughter is not thrilled about it.
Yeah,
who's like a pop star. I said she was an Asian pop star. Apparently she's British. My bad. But yeah, that's a spin-off waiting to happen.
They announced it already, I think. Or they announced that Kane is getting a spin-off.
Yes, there's a new guy, Kane, who's basically Halle Berry's character.
Right.
They also have a kid who's being held, like, he knows where his kid is. He apparently got too close to them. So he's being hired by the High Table to go after John with the rest of them. That whole Japan fight scene is awesome.
Yeah, that's where you get the nunchucks.
That's where you get the nunchucks. However, they had that super armor
Oh, yeah,
in the last one, and I assume this is the same kind of super armor, and just bows and arrows can take it out.
Well, they're armor-piercing arrows, so...
There had to be a line like that somewhere. I'm like, why is this armor so ineffective compared to the other one? Intense fight scene. I love when the girl just stabs the guy over and over again as he's
crawling up the stairs.
Our big heavy is that one dude. He's like that big guy throughout the whole film. That's hunting John. And we get a new element. We didn't have enough secret things in here, so now there's trackers.
Well, he's not like an official part of the Continental High Table stuff. At least that was my impression.
Okay.
I feel like Tracker is just like, oh, you're one of those tracker guys that just goes after the bounties. But I actually like this guy. Like, I found it so funny, the idea that he's protecting John just so he can watch the bounty go higher and higher.
Yeah.
Until I guess he can afford this like villa he wants to buy for him and his dog.
And he's got a dog too. You're right. He's got a dog.
I felt like this movie finally perfected the formula for side characters that have their own stories. Like, yes,
they're very interesting.
They're very interesting. And yes, it's a bit familiar that the guy's got a daughter that he's protecting, but there were emotional stakes there. Like, I didn't want the daughter to get killed. I really felt the tension between him and John. Like, how are they going to resolve this? Where if John kills him and he fails at his job, then they're going to go after his daughter. Obviously, John doesn't want to die.
Yeah.
And then plus, the fact that he's blind, it gets to introduce this whole new element to the fight choreography.
Yeah, which is awesome.
When he was putting on those motion detecting doorbells.
I thought that was so cool as hell. That was so cool.
Yeah, I didn't know what they were at first. I was like, is he putting like little mines everywhere? They're just going to blow up or something?
But yeah, he kills Sonata, and then he lets the girl know. He's like, you can come after me at some point. I'm like, well, there's that movie coming down the line.
You do really feel the franchise building. I mean, you see it in every movie, but this one feels like, okay, there's a spinoff.
Yeah.
All right, there's a spinoff.
Yep. But yeah, so the rest of the movie is John just having to kill people in relation to the High Table. He has to like the family that he belongs to, I guess.
Yeah, the Risco Roma.
Yes.
Yeah, so to challenge what do they call him? So you had the adjudicator.
Yeah.
Now you have the guy Skarsgård.
Oh,
his
yeah.
character.
I was gonna say, even before him, he has to fight another guy at the nightclub.
Oh, Killa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who in my initial review I just kept calling the whale. He has to
I
fight
remember that,
the most athletic fat ass I've ever seen in the movie. It's almost as if it's a thin guy in a suit. They have to kill him because they killed someone in John's like family that he belongs to. And there's like a whole thing there.
Yeah, well, that's so he wants to challenge Skarsgård to a duel.
Yes.
Which is allowed according to the rules of the High Table.
I'm going to look up the name of what that is, but keep going.
Yeah, so it's allowed according to the rules of the High Table, one way they prevent all-out war when there's a conflict between members of the High Table is they let them duel it out. So that's one way that John can challenge him to a duel and set the terms of it. If I kill you... The Marquis, that's right. So he can set the terms of the duel that if I kill the Marquis, you let Winston have the Continental back and you forgive me of everything.
Oh, yeah, but you're right. He has to be a member of the table.
Exactly.
So he has to kill that guy to get the thing.
Right. If he wants his family to sanction the fight and basically say he's going to be a representative at the High Table for our family, they're like, okay, we'll do that if you go kill Killa because he killed my dad.
Yes. Which is, it's a fun scene where they're playing the card game. The tracker shows up. Donnie Yen shows up. Leads to a fun fight, but like, it's one of those, I think I made fun of it. Like, man, it takes the crowd a really long time to know that there's like a big fight happening.
Yeah.
Like the whole time they're like just constantly dancing and everything. I almost felt like it was like in RoboCop when the gun falls in the crowd, the guy picks up the gun, just keeps on dancing. Like I wouldn't have been surprised if that
I always
happened.
just assume, like I haven't spent a lot of time in clubs and stuff, but I assume it's like a drug-fueled, like nobody there is sober in their right mind.
I guess. I mean, there has to be someone who's a designated. There has to be someone who's on not that many drugs.
Yeah, if you're not cool.
I guess so. I guess it's just a club full of cool people.
You would have been the loser who's like, oh my God, there's a big fight happening. That guy has a gun. Like, shut up, Tony. I'm trying to enjoy my drug haze.
More acid, please. Okay.
This is where it gets into some of the very cool fight scenes.
Yes.
I mean, basically, I don't know, we're going to be like broken records if I'm like, this fight scene was really cool.
Yeah.
But it gets into some of the ridiculous, like, he shot my ass. Like, why won't you just die?
Yeah, okay, so this movie, the fight scenes are fun, but they are cartoony at this point, which usually happens with these films. Every time a franchise keeps going, it usually gets more cartoony. But like, it's like, I was laughing in the theater during a lot of this film. I'm just like, come on. When he gets to like Paris and they're in that roundabout, he's like getting hit by the cars and everything. And again, none of the pedestrians, they're like, oh, fight going on.
Chad Stahelski, he quoted Jackie Chan. He said this was a lesson he learned from Jackie Chan about stunts, is that when you're choreographing a fight scene, you might think, you know what, let's move that table out of the way so we can do like a spin kick.
Yeah.
But Jackie Chan was like, no, you don't move the table. The more obstacles, the better.
Yeah.
And I feel like you really took that to heart. What if we have a fight scene where like one wrong step, you get hit by a car right around the arc? That was so cool.
It was cool how they filmed it, how they had like mattresses on it that he rolled on, and then visual effects, they like took it out. That was fun. And also it basically turns into the Warriors at the end.
Right.
Where all the different assassins are going after him, and there's the girl on the radio, like, letting them know. It's like, okay.
It's almost word for word the same lines from the Warriors.
Yeah,
like, it's a
pretty
very
much.
direct reference.
Because, the Marquis is just putting out hits on him. Because, the Marquis agrees to do the challenge, but obviously wants him dead before the challenge.
Yeah.
Uh,
I have a feeling he's not going to make it to the duel tomorrow.
Oh, and they got speaking of Highlander, the Kurgan is in this. Clancy Brown shows up in this. This is the guy with the Marquis. I don't really know what the Marquis is. It seems like he's a bigger deal than the Elder, who's supposed to be above the table.
Well, the Marquis, he's basically the sheriff that they called to town to finally clean this up.
Yeah.
They even give him the badge he wears.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like Western tropes in this one, I feel like.
He finally destroys the Continental.
That's right.
How do you cover that up in New York? I don't know.
Well, I've seen it before where there was one time, like I went to lunch and then I came back home and a building was just gone. They just erase buildings in New York. I feel like the street noise is so loud.
But they don't like schedule it or let people know. Like they just blow.
I don't know how many times I have to tell you this. The high table, it's been around since before the Roman Empire. They're in control of everything.
Yeah, but you got to come up with like a cover story or something. Like, come on, people are going to look into this.
I will say, as ridiculous as that was, blowing up the Continental, but also killing Lance Reddick's character at the beginning.
Yeah.
I did feel like that brought back some of the emotional stakes that haven't been there in a couple
Well, again,
of movies.
this is Winston's movie, really. John's doing all the action, but this is Winston's mission now, is to get control of the Continental. And
yeah, at one point, John asks him, like, why are you doing all this? And he's like, revenge for killing Sharon.
Winston is pretty great in this film. They killed Lance Reddick's character, and then he died in real life. Shortly after that, or before the movie, actually.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, which was a bummer.
Yeah, and then he has such a small role in the movie.
Yeah,
an important one.
Yeah, especially since the last movie, he's like part of the action, so it was weird they decided to kill him off right away.
Yeah.
So yeah, it becomes this big Paris thing. So they got the idea for the one fight scene, the one gun battle that was overhead.
Oh, yeah.
From a video game. There's a lot of video games like this, but the one that I think because everyone thought it was one video game they were referencing.
The Hong Kong something?
Okay. They thought it was a different one. The director said it was Hong Kong Fury or something. It was Hong Kong something, because I remember Mike from Cinemassacre was streaming it for a bit. So I was familiar with that game. I went into the movie, it turned into that. I'm like, this is like that game.
Yeah. Everyone's like, shh. Mike was playing it.
No, this was like an IMAX theater, and I was near the speaker, so That was loud. These movies are loud.
This is too loud.
If you go to see this in IMAX, don't sit near the speakers. It's just going to be like bang, bang, bang.
If you want it too quiet, you can watch it on Amazon streaming.
Okay, good. But no, I do love this sequence. But at this point, I'm like, all right, this doesn't look like anything from the other movies. This weird overhead imaginary camera.
And he's using like the incendiary round.
Yeah, just shooting
Yeah.
fire. It literally is a video. And I know there is like a John Wick video game, like shooter.
Yeah, which I think is also, it's not like a third person. Like,
Yeah. There was supposed to be a VR game.
Really?
I played the demo at PAX years ago. They had like a Lance Reddick there. I don't think it got made, but I think they used that to make the VR game, the PSVR game Blood and Truth, which I have.
Oh, okay.
Which is actually a fun game. If you like John Wick, definitely check that. I might actually play that again.
Nice.
That is a fun, because you have to like load the gun.
Yeah.
Like it's the closest you can get to like a VR John Wick.
There's one that made me feel like John Wick in VR. I forget the name of it, but it's like a rhythm game where you're shooting people to the music. So you're like dodging stuff. And I mean, they do that a lot in John Wick where there'll be like music going, and especially in chapter 3, when they're shooting all the guys with the armor on. He's playing that like classical music.
Well, then there's in this one the fucking club and the dancing, even like in the overhead shooting scene. By the way, I like that like it stops and then like it starts up again. The dog eats a guy's balls. That's fun.
Yeah, that's true. Urinates on his head too.
Yes. The stair scene is where I lost it.
Yeah. Which I mean, that was hilarious.
It was
I mean,
hilarious.
Like
I'm just
times.
I'm like, come on. Like, imagine going from the first John Wick to this one and getting to the stair
It's
scene.
Basically Looney Tunes now.
It's really Looney Tunes.
It's like
You're
John
like,
Wick runs over the edge and he's like, uh-oh, and then falls.
It's like, what the fuck is going on? It's like Hot Rod where Andy Samberg keeps falling down the hill. It just doesn't stop. You're like, oh my God. But again, like, it's just dumb enough that I can't like hate it. I'm like, I kind of love this.
Well, see, I don't call it stupid because I feel like they're in on it.
Yeah.
Like they're, I'd call it absurd or ridiculous. And I don't think it, like I said earlier, I don't think it's the wrong choice. And I I enjoy it. Like I laughed at the stairs, but part of me does wish we could get the grittiness back, you know?
Yes. But yeah, he makes it with Donnie Yen's help to the Marquis to do the duel.
That's right.
I do like, I love Winston. I keep using this quote where he's like, any advice, Winston? He just goes,
just have fun out there.
so the Marquis is an idiot.
Yeah.
He just forgot that John didn't shoot that one round. He gets fucking killed. So I'm like, oh, I thought that'd be cooler.
Yeah.
So yeah, then it kind of ends with John Wick dying,
Dead.
looking at a very digital sunset. The CGI toward the end of the film got a little rough.
His last word, Helen, his wife's name.
Yes.
Just wanted to clarify that because I remember my brother was like, it was kind of weird how he says, he goes, heaven, right before he dies.
No, I don't think he said that. And yeah, he dies. They're at his tombstone. They're saying that he's dead.
John Wick, loving husband.
Yes. What's it called? Sharon got a good friend.
Yeah, friend, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's dead, and the whole time, like, is John Wick 5 gonna start with him, like, off camera and being like, you think this will work? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, something really, I don't mind an intentionally ambiguous ending.
Yeah.
But this one bugged me because it wasn't exactly intentionally ambiguous because apparently they shot a version where he is unambiguously alive.
Okay.
And test audiences didn't like it, so they took it out.
Okay.
And so I'm like, it's designed by audience participation and voting.
Yeah.
But if you listen to interviews with like Chad Stahelski, he'll say like, you know, it's up to interpretation. I tend to interpret it in a darker way. So clearly to him, John should be dead. Yeah. And they've said that him and Keanu Reeves were looking for what's our way back in for chapter 4. Yeah. And for them, we got to kill him. The studio didn't like that. So they're like, well, hold on. Remember, there's like a duality. There's John Wick, the man, and then John Wick, you know, Baba Yaga, the killer. So we can kind of get away by killing the legend without killing the man. So basically he exists in a state of if they can pull together a John Wick 5, he's alive.
Yeah.
If not,
it didn't really, nothing about the advertising or any, like, it just didn't feel like this was going to be John Wick's last adventure. It didn't feel like that. That's why the ending took me off guard.
They did do a good job, I thought. So I mentioned earlier, I do think they brought back the emotional stakes a bit with this movie by killing Sharon and by making so many references to, John, where does this end? You can't just keep killing. And eventually they're going to get the better of you.
Yeah.
So they set it up like we're in the end times, like this, pretty early on. So you felt like, I was going to say, you feel like he could die, but the problem is no part of me buys that.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's not going to
it
die.
just doesn't
I just
ring
don't
true to
believe
me.
you. Yeah.
I mean, I guess the good news is if John Wick 5 is a huge piece of shit, I could just stop watching at 4 and be like, okay, that was the end.
Yeah,
They
it's
made
another choose your own adventure franchise.
Yeah.
There's only 2 Terminator movies.
Yeah. Halloween, it ends at this one. Which Halloween 4 is your favorite?
Well, that one is actually like a choose your own favorite.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want to go to Halloween 2 from here? Do you want to go to Halloween?
Yeah. But no, it's a good time. Like I said, I own these movies. I watch them a lot, actually. I like just putting them on. Even like when I'm like not too invested in some of the story, it's like, well, it looks pretty. And there's fun.
Well,
shooting.
I feel like my tendency is when you have a movie like John Wick, where it's got such a reputation, like everyone loves John Wick. The first thing I want to go to are the things I didn't like about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love all these movies.
Yeah.
And like even 4, when you point out some of the ridiculous stuff in it, like it's such a good time. And the action is really good. It's far above average.
Yeah, it's a really fun franchise that we have right now. It's a cool dude kicking ass. And when they did Matrix 4, I'm like, well, those John Wick movies are good. I wonder what the action's gonna be like in Matrix 4. Go back and watch that episode.
Yeah, love seeing Keanu Reeves do this.
Oh yeah, that was right. Imagine watching like all 3 of these movies and being like, I know what our movie needs.
I think we're not going to be able to top that. Let's go the other way. Let's subvert expectations.
But then it wasn't even like magical, powerful enough. It's just like kind of just pushed a guy with his mind. Cool, whatever. But yeah, now this opens it up to a whole franchise. And the first thing they did was the Peacock series, The Continental, from the world of John Wick. I just watched this for the first time the other day on Monday, which I thought was a Sunday. I don't know if you saw me post about that.
I did.
This
see
is
that,
probably
yeah.
coming out way afterwards, but yeah, at the time of this recording on Monday, I had to push my episode back a day because I got copyright cleaned, and that just reset my brain, and I spent all day thinking it was Sunday.
Yeah, he kept saying Sunday, and I was like, I could tell him it's Monday, but I'm gonna just let this.
I think I did text someone asking how their weekend's going, and I'm realizing now, I'm like, why did they ever correct me?
Tony's drunk again.
Like he has a clown job. He doesn't know what day it is. Anyway, so I watch it all in one day.
Yeah.
It's a prequel about how Winston met Sharon and took control of the Continental. And usually I hate prequel shit or think it's unnecessary. However, I had a lot of fun with this series. Where did you land on this series?
Wow, I'll say this. I really struggled through the first 2 episodes.
Okay.
But I did think it picked up in 3.
Okay.
And it made me compare the efficiency of John Wick, where they do all the setup in about 5 minutes, and then you're into the action. This show, it's 3 episodes. So I said in episode 3 it picked up. But every episode's about an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
So it's basically like saying John Wick 1, not great. 2, not great, but really picks up in the 3rd. But basically, I found that, first off, there's very little action in the show.
Yeah, which I actually didn't mind.
I don't mind
for this type of story.
Yeah, especially the story you're telling. It's not about John Wick. It's about, like you said, Winston.
Yeah.
Where his skill has never been about fighting. It's been more about, he turns the charm on. He talks his way into and out of situations. And you see a little bit of that, but I don't feel like you get that much. And okay, in lieu of action, what we're looking for is character. And I feel like most of the characters are super cliched. The dialogue is so clunky. Well, even just, so it's basically Winston and his brother Frankie.
Yeah.
And it's the classic, like, Winston, I never wanted you to be a part of this life.
Yeah,
I
okay.
tried
It
so
is.
hard.
It is a little cliche.
And some of the dialogue is so bad.
Yeah.
One guy gets a new pair of glasses, and the other guy goes, new glasses? I didn't know we were having a handsome contest. Or, okay, here's the level of metaphor we get. Not that the John Wick movies have ever been about subtlety, but there's this one lady who's been dealing with a lot of problems.
Yes.
She gets to the hotel, and they go, any baggage? Yeah, a whole lot of it.
Cool. I like it.
My favorite one was, so I referenced this earlier. I don't know if you picked up on it,
Okay.
but when you were talking about the guns here,
Yeah.
and I was like, why does a video rental store need an armory anyway? But one character literally asks, the Continental has an armory, and he says, why would a hotel for hitmen have an armory? And it's not meant as a joke. It was like a serious
Yeah, that is a
question
weird thing.
that gets addressed.
Oh, okay. There is
Yeah.
one character who's the wacky dialogue guy. He sucks.
Yeah, he was the handsome contest
Okay,
guy.
yeah. So I know people like, for some reason they highlight the MCU when they do this, but most action, like most franchises, they'll always make fun of like, so that just happened. He's that guy like incarnate. He was the worst part of the show. But no, I actually, as much as you didn't dig it, I dug it a lot, even if it was cliche. I guess I just didn't know what to expect going in, and I'm usually annoyed with prequel shit. But it didn't do anything weird prequel wise. Like,
That's true.
okay, Winston had a brother who went to Vietnam, came back all different. They grew up, raised like kind of like working for this guy for the Continental. Bad things happen. Cormac, played by Mel Gibson.
Find him, because if you don't, I'll bring the weight of this whole institution down on you both.
Yeah, so I kind of like the backstory with Winston there. We learn a little bit more about Sharon. Apparently he's gay. That's new. Didn't expect that. They never outright say it though.
Yeah, but there's a
because
cellist
because
who's
Mel
like,
Gibson's in this show, so they never outright say
you're
it.
gonna cut that scene, all right?
Yeah, he's like in love with a cellist, or maybe they're just really good friends. Again, the show leaves it up to your imagination, but it's pretty clear where they want your imagination to go. So yeah, there's nothing like stupid like Winston is John Wick's dad, or Mel Gibson bred the dog that ended up like there's nothing really bad with that, and even like the high table stuff isn't annoying.
No, like, and I mentioned like, there is some stuff I liked in the show, and I did say like it's all set up for what happens in episode 3.
Yeah,
which I did enjoy a lot of that. Like those little lines, those little world building lines, like the Continental, the high table's been around since before the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
I know I keep bringing that up, but I love secret society.
No,
stuff,
that's,
so
cool. That's cool. Like
but-
they didn't introduce anything like new to the high table. They just gave us a little bit more information about them.
Yeah.
The MacGuffin of this is the coin press.
Yeah, which even that, I'm like, that's cool. That's just a cool little detail. Like you need that coin press to make those gold coins, and if you steal it, that's really bad.
Yes.
Even the way they steal it was cool.
But yeah, that opening heist was a lot of fun. How he had like the cable that ripped the door off the thing.
Yeah.
That was cool.
By attaching it to a subway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool shit. Although a little bit of a continuity error here. I guess maybe that one gun was really strong, because the one guy gets shot, shoots through the ceiling, which hits all the people in the nightclub above. But then later on in another episode, someone comes in and Winston throws over a tiny wooden table and it's blocking all the bullets. It's like, well, what the fuck? How effective are bullets in this universe? I did appreciate his brother died in like the first episode.
Yeah, which was unexpected.
Yeah.
And like it felt kind of like comically, it wasn't pointless.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm gonna let myself get killed.
Yeah.
So the high table stops going after you guys.
Yeah.
And he gave them back the coin press, but it turns out he didn't give it back.
Yes.
So they're still going after Winston and all of them.
Yeah.
So him dying basically gave them a chance to escape in that moment, but they're still after them.
But then, like, when you know the ending, it really makes Winston look bad. So yeah, Mel Gibson, he really needs the coin press back because now he looks bad. So he's like trying to send people after them. I do like where he's like, let's ask one of our guests if they can handle it. Give me one of the weird ones. And what's his face? It's just like, huh? He's like, that's right, they're all weird. How about the twins?
Yeah, Hansel and Gretel or whatever they call themselves.
Yeah, those twins are so creepy. The one's like contortionists.
Yeah, every time you see her, she's just in like a weird position. Like for some reason, she's doing a split on like a love seat.
Yeah. And the
but-
other guy's hair is just real upsetting.
But they're an example to me of the clunkiness of this show.
Okay.
Where he's like, get me the weirdos. You know, okay, they're going to build them up as these really formidable foes they're going to have to face.
Yeah.
And all you see them do is shoot at them with a sniper. And I'm like,
Well-
that's not that. And they look a little creepy.
Well, the one girl, like, she thinks she got all mangled, but she was a contortionist. She puts herself back together.
That's true. Does that happen in episode 1, though?
No.
Yeah, I was
it's
going to
episode
say,
3.
it's like, that's the kind of setup you could have done.
Yeah.
So by the time you get to episode 3, you're like, okay, they're finally going to face off against the twins.
Yeah, yeah. There's another subplot with the one girl who owns the dojo.
Right. Well, that's another thing. I'm
Yeah.
like, what's this subplot about they're trying to take her dojo away?
Which is funny because that happened in Roadhouse.
Oh, yeah,
Another
that's right,
girl,
yeah.
it's like, my dad started, are they just grabbing plot like devices or like just like synopsis from like a thing?
Yeah, it felt like they felt like they really needed to fill out the time. And
Yeah.
like TV shows usually aren't an hour and a half long. You guys
Yeah.
can make it 40
Yeah.
minutes and it's okay.
But I did like the backstory with that, where it turns out her dad was an assassin. And
like-
that's how they got all that stuff.
Yeah, I like the backstory.
Mm.
I don't like the way everyone's backstories in this show are basically told in monologues.
Yeah.
Like, so what's your story? And then like 2 minutes later, they're both in tears.
Yeah.
And it creates that cognitive dissonance of I'm not feeling anything of what the characters are feeling on screen. And I had a quote here, I wrote it down, but I lost it. But I think it was Chad Stahelski where he talked about how little dialogue they have in the movies.
Yeah.
He's like, we don't want to waste time on monologues. And I'm like, they didn't get that note for the Continental.
However, I will say, you said lack of action. That the opening of the first episode is pretty good. So they show like if you start shooting on Continental grounds, they have like the red lights. They're like, "Hey, someone's attacking the Continental. You're allowed to conduct business. Kill this guy." And it comes back again in the third episode.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun to see. Like, what are the rules here?
Yeah, those are some of the cool details where, yeah, you can turn on these red
Yeah.
lights throughout the hotel to indicate temporarily you're allowed to kill right now.
Yeah, and I think it's for situations like this. If
Yeah.
someone goes rogue or if it's being attacked, like you're allowed to do this. But the action overall I thought was pretty good in this. I love the violence in this. I love that Mel Gibson knows he can't kill people. So he convinces the guy to jump out the window, and you just see him splatter in the background as Winston's going in. He's like, oh, okay.
I was on board for the first episode for a good portion of it.
Yeah.
Like, that was a great scene. Like, they set him up, Cormac, as such a great villain.
Yes.
He's like, yeah, I can't kill you on Continental grounds, but you do have a family, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then when Winston's walking in, you just, like you said, you see him splat
Yeah.
in the background.
Mel Gibson's great. As
really
a
good at-
person, we agree with everything he's ever said, right, Gil?
Oh, wait a minute. I had something prepared for this. Please note that the views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and do not reflect my own. I am not responsible for any statements made by others or myself during this recording.
Why don't you like Mel Gibson? What's he ever done? But I think that kind of helps Mel Gibson knowing that he's kind of an asshole in real life. So when he plays an asshole, it's really good.
He was basically the best part of this show.
He really was.
He was the only one they set up as someone you can really be afraid of.
Yeah.
I felt real tension in the scene with the cellist where he's like, play a song for me.
Oh, you know exactly what's going to happen with that because he's jealous that the cellist attempted Sharon to leave. Didn't succeed.
Right.
He's just mad that he tempted it. And then he's going to punish Sharon. He's like, yeah, your dad's a cellist. Or like a violinist. I'm going to have him come up here. And he's just like, oh, please don't do that.
It was a bit convenient that Winston's like, we need Sharon on our side.
Yeah.
How do we get him to turn on Cormac?
Yeah.
Cut to Cormac killing the cellist.
It kind of worked itself out, didn't it? You were mentioning earlier, like I guess the one thing this does introduce is the magic drug that makes you strong, I guess.
Yeah, when the doctor, I think in 3, gives John that injection, he's
Yep.
like, your stitches are going to open and you're going to bleed, but you'll be able to do your John Wick killing stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, I guess this is the origin of that then.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was weird. I like the little heist team put together to take over the Continental. They have the sniper, the really polite sniper. He's my favorite.
He was funny, yeah.
Yeah, so they have the sniper who poses as an exterminator to get a better view of the Continental. And, like, he takes over this old lady's apartment, but, like, he thinks she's going to be gone, and then she shows up. He's like, so he ties her up, and he's making her comfortable. He's like, I'm really sorry I have to do this.
He's like, you have very nice plants here. If you'd like me to come back, free of charge, of course, I can help you.
Yeah. Really, really nice. There's the wacky guy who sucks. Then there's, like, the brother and sister karate kids, I kept calling them. They have their own subplot with the one, like, Asian dude who wants to destroy them.
Yeah, that
the
was
Korean
another-
guy. Yeah.
In terms of just like clunky backstory and dialogue, she refuses to use guns because her father
Yes.
did. And she's like, with hand-to-hand weapons, you have a choice, life or death. Guns, you have no choice, only death. like in this franchise
Yeah.
where people get shot all the time and
Yeah.
they get back up, it just doesn't ring very true.
Yeah. Yeah, it really, well, it hadn't happened yet.
That's true. I guess John Wick they didn't invent the bulletproof armor yet. So like,
No, not yet.
okay, in the 70s, guns always kill. One shot kill.
And I like that this whole thing is basically like, well, by the way, there's a new adjudicator.
That's true.
Katie,
yeah.
oh, I guess an old one. Katie McGrath plays her.
Right.
You might remember her from Supergirl.
Okay.
Lena Luthor. Yeah. You might actually remember her as the babysitter who got eaten in Jurassic World and had that super violent death. For no
yeah,
reason.
that like scarred me, that scene.
Yeah. I talked about it before. I'm like, that's a cool idea for a death. It's just usually reserved that for like a bad guy.
Yeah, but
like not just the kind of annoying nanny or whatever.
How dare she care more about her upcoming wedding than a couple of brats she was asked to watch for a couple of hours?
So she's in this as the adjudicator and she has like the mask. Okay, so we know that she's deformed, but we don't know how. And then we learn how deformed she is at the very end where she gets killed. And I saw her mouth and I went, how was she talking this whole time? Because she doesn't have lips. She's talking very precisely.
Yeah. It's like when you see like a stop motion skeleton where the jaw is just like doing this.
Yeah.
But somehow he's like forming words.
Yeah, it doesn't make... Like, hold on. Hi, Gov, how are you? That's how she should sound the whole time.
Well, we didn't see the inside of the mask. Maybe it had like rubber lips on the inside.
I'll get the fuck out of here.
They should have had me in the writer's room. Cut out all that stupid dojo stuff. Let's get into the mask.
Yeah, but Cormac, right? Cormac?
Cormac, yeah.
Yeah. I love that he realizes he's fucked and he's like, fuck it. I just want them all to die. He starts killing people on the ground. He's about to blow up the Continental. He's about to like, what is it, like weaken the steel beams to crush it all down?
And they have like a Latin phrase for it. And like the guy in the room with him is like, oh, this does not call for like Invictus to turn, whatever the word is. And he's like, whatever, I don't care.
He fucking kills that guy. I love that there's an escape pod that's like a little train underneath. That's cool. But yeah, so the reason Winston is doing all this is because you're right. They don't have the coin press. Like, right. I don't know where the fucking coin press is. They're going to keep hunting us until we find the coin press. So that's why he's doing all this. He's like, I have to kill Cormac.
Well, he says, I have to kill Cormac. And then he goes, but it's not as simple as taking out Cormac. We still got to deal with the Continental.
Yeah.
A takeover of the whole hotel. Look, he didn't say that. I feel like you read so much into what he just said. But to me, that was just some of the clunky dialogue.
Okay. I was
How are we supposed to believe a guy in an ascot could pull this off?
Yeah, they really are on him about the ascot. I'm like, it's the 70s. People wore ascots in the 70s. Fucking relax.
But yeah, they have to kill Cormac.
Yeah.
And then you have to take over the hotel or else they're going to keep coming after that.
Yes. Because again, they would love to hand over the coin press, but they can't. We also see the origin of the homeless pigeon people.
Oh yeah, what did we see with that? I forget.
There's like a lady who's in charge of them.
Oh
and she's
yeah,
like, these guys work for me.
Yeah, I don't want money. I want love.
Yeah. She's like, you have to tell me your story and everything. Like, and they show them like downstairs, like building like stuff. So that's the origin. I guess like you have to do like little origin stuff. So we got that at least. But
we also saw the cleanup guy that John calls to clean up all the bodies in the first movie. Yeah, so he's like a friend of Winston's father or something.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, we get to see this fun, exciting action scene where they're taking out all the assassins at the end. One girl gets blown up with C4. That was cool.
Oh yeah, she kind of just like popped.
Yeah,
there was like no explosion. She just like turned into blood.
It was pretty cool. And then friggin' Winston kills the adjudicator because he wants a meeting with the high table, I guess.
Yeah.
He's like, I know how to get their attention. Boom, it just blows her away. What did you think about the twist with the coin press at the end? I thought that was great.
I thought it was fine. I don't know.
I thought it was great that Winston could have solved this at any point.
Yeah.
At any point, it could have been over. But he's like, yeah, but you know what? Because he is trying to like manipulate people out of their money. That's what he was doing in the beginning. When he was like secretly sleeping with the guy's wife and they put in like a whole act. So he had the coin press the entire time.
Yeah, it was in the, well, maybe I'm dumb and I misunderstood this, but did you read it as Winston knew where it was the whole time? Because I read it as him realizing, wait a minute, it's in the place where, you know, you'd never expect to look. And it was like him and his brother used to sleep in a trunk when they were kids. And that's where it ended up being.
No, I think he knew where. Or maybe he figured it out after the death. No, I think he knew about it ahead of time. I think he
Right.
knew about it ahead of time. I think he's the one who put the little monkey giving the finger in the case.
Yeah.
So yeah, he had it the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
He gives it to the underground people to make the coins, so now that's their job.
Oh, yeah.
And he basically manipulated all of this so he could take over the Continental and be fine. Like, I guess he also wanted revenge on his brother. And I even like the subplot because there was like the lady detective who's like sleeping with the married guy.
Yeah, the one with a lot of baggage.
Yes, and she's like trying to like get into this world, and she has that burn. And it took me a minute to be like, what's like her purpose and all this? And you find out like when Winston was young, he was ordered by Cormac to throw a cocktail into a building, but didn't know people were in it, and she's that girl, and he's got to like convince her to spare him, so she kills Cormac. It was like a whole thing.
Yeah, he burned her entire family alive.
Yeah. And his brother took the fall for it.
Right.
So there was like a whole thing. No, I love the whole ending where Winston just kind of played everyone. I'm like, all right, that feels very Winston to me. I kind of like this. And the guy who's playing him, I feel like he does feel like a young version of that character.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job. And I thought you don't really see much of Sharon in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But in the third one, when him and Winston are playing off each other.
Yeah.
I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Overall, I think the show works. When it comes to spin-offs and prequels, they're more miss than hit for me, but this one was fine.
Yeah.
And I felt a little bit more grounded too.
That's true.
Yes.
It did feel more grounded.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about the soundtrack. I liked all the 70s
God,
music.
yeah, the soundtrack was great. Sorry,
Yeah.
the soundtrack was great. Like this, of all the '70s music, they're picking some pretty good bangers that I listened to.
Yeah. There was like some Pink Floyd stuff I used to listen to that shows up.
That was my favorite. I'm like, oh, nice. Yeah, there is music playing like almost constantly
Yeah.
throughout this thing.
That's like where the budget of the show went. Like instead of fight scenes, they're like, what if we had a lot of music?
Yeah,
Which was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for me, like about 30 to 40% of the show worked. So, you know,
I would see a season 2.
yeah.
There's a lot you could do there. I love how dirty New York looks.
Yeah, they do like, it wasn't just the music, also the look of the show.
Yeah.
They do the period piece aspect of it well.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if they're planning on doing another season or anything, but
Yeah, my impression is that it's a one and done, but
okay. But so far, this is fine. It probably would have worked better as a shorter movie.
yeah, I agree with that.
Yes.
I do think there was enough good stuff in there. I like the concept of it.
And they didn't go overboard on the prequel stuff. There
Yeah.
weren't like younger versions of characters other than the
Well, like,
few.
and if there are, they don't like point at it, you know? It's
Yeah.
just like there.
Like I was just, when they showed like the little boy, I'm like, is that gonna be young Donnie Yen? Like, luckily it's not. I'm like, just because I'm so used to prequel stuff doing
Yeah.
that, I'm like, we don't need it. We don't need it.
Yeah. But it does, like you said, it felt a little bit more grounded.
Yeah.
And it does give me, I could see them building out the world in almost a Game of Thrones kind of
Yeah.
way, where you see somebody taking over a Continental.
Yeah.
You can have different territories against each other. Like, I didn't like it overall, you know, like I said, but there was enough in it that I enjoyed that I see the potential.
Yeah.
And I like that they can have different tones in the same franchise. John Wick 4 can be a little over the top and ridiculous, but you could still tell more grounded stories in this world.
This kind of reminded me of the MonsterVerse show, Monarch.
Yeah.
How like the movies are kind of getting ridiculous, but then there's like this nice show that's a little bit more as grounded as it can be, I guess. That's in the same universe. And both franchises only did a movie every few years. They're not super oversaturated yet. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. I guess the real test will be Ballerina.
Yeah, I'm worried about that movie because they keep delaying it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, are they concerned about this movie?
Have they even shot it yet?
My impression is that it's already shot, I thought.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, definitely, because Lance Reddick is in it. He makes an appearance.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, yeah. We'll see what that's like.
Yeah.
We'll see what that's like. Although Atomic Blonde, which is not related, but it was like more like a spiritual successor, that just kind of came and went.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay.
I never actually saw it, but that's the sentiment I usually hear.
It's okay. It's okay. I never really wanted to watch it again. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the future of John Wick. Now, I think it's pretty obvious what's the best. What is the best John Wick thing so far, Gil?
It's got to be the Continental. The more grounded feel. You like the twist with Winston so much. I was like, I got to put on my own twist.
Yeah.
It's got to be the first one.
Yeah.
I think I'll say this. If I were to rewatch a John Wick movie, it would probably be 4.
Okay.
Just because what I love so much about the first one is just the raw emotion where the fight scenes not only look cool, but you also really care about the outcome of those fights. And you want to see John Wick kick ass. There's also the sense of discovery. As much as they keep introducing new stuff with the high table, the adjudicators, and all of that, you can feel that they're kind of making it up as they go along. Versus in the first movie, it truly felt like there is this broader world out there that actually exists, and you're just seeing hints of it. The thing is, it's hard to recapture that feeling. Like, I've seen John Wick's dog get killed, 20 times now because I rewatch the movie. But just in terms of pure fight scenes and spectacle and stuff that's just visually cool to look at, I would probably go to 4. But in terms of my favorite story, my favorite movie, it would be the original, John Wick.
What's your least favorite thing?
Shockingly, the Continental.
Oh, okay.
If not for the Continental, it would probably be 2. Just because I liked Chapter 2. I liked all the movies.
No, I kind of enjoyed the Continental, to be honest. Maybe the soundtrack was really what was good. The soundtrack of Mel Gibson really... shout out to Mel Gibson. Let's give a shout out to Mel Gibson. They made that stand above 2 for me. 2 is fine, but it is like... I mean, I guess technically on a filmmaking standpoint, right? 4 is probably like one of the worst things ever, but it's just too much fun that I can't hate it. 2 is definitely the weakest for me.
Yeah, I think it's just like we said earlier. It's kind of more of the same from 1, but cool new environments. Then it doesn't have the emotional stakes of 1 or the ones that kind of claw back in 4.
Okay, what was your favorite dog?
My favorite dog?
Yeah.
It's got to be the first one. I just feel so bad for her, Daisy.
I know, that dog sucked.
It couldn't even defend herself against some punk Russian kid.
Sucked. No, I like the Tracker's dog who ate balls. That dog was awesome. That dog needs its own spinoff. I watched that, Tracker and his dog.
That's the one spinoff they haven't announced yet, because we got Ballerina, we got Kane they said they're doing.
Okay.
But no Tracker yet.
Oh, you know what's funny? I feel like he might have died in the early... Because that whole ending where he's just sitting on a bench off to the side feels like reshoots. Feels like maybe they wanted him. Like, is he even there? No one's addressing him.
They just insert him like, oh, yeah.
Feels
cool.
It feels like, what's her face in the last Aquaman movie? Amber
Heard.
Oh,
yeah.
Where it's like they clearly filmed those scenes in a way where she could have easily been taken out. They like keep cutting to her reaction. I'm like, oh, yeah, she's in the movie. That's how I felt with Tracker at the end of 4, where I'm just like, oh, right, he's still alive. And he's just nodding to himself and the dog, and no one is pretending he's there.
I guess he lost his whole purpose. And it's a great, like, crowd-pleasing moment when John sees that someone pulls a gun on the Tracker's dog, and John cannot allow another dog to get killed. So he saves the Tracker's dog, and then I think he's still going after John at a certain point. And then the dog kind of whines at him, and so the dog's like, you can't. That's a great guy.
I can't do it for the dog. I would have killed the dog.
Yeah, of course you would. Yeah.
It's me or the dog. Sorry, dog.
Wait,
Not my dog.
8 seconds ago, you were like, I love that dog. He eats balls.
Well, no. I love the dog, but if I was in John Wick's position, I'd be like, that's a cool dog, but it's got to go. I love animals, Gil. Not my cat, but, animals.
It sounds really believable.
I really love animals, not the one I own.
It sounded more believable when you were like, I don't condone anything Mel Gibson said.
No, I agree with everything he's ever said, and so do you. Anyway, what's your favorite Mel Gibson rant? I think it was the voicemail to his girlfriend. Those are my favorite.
Classic.
I've listened to those. And blow me. Anyway, Gil, where can we find you?
You can find me at youtube.com/OneTakeVids. I've also started a second channel, OneTake Podcast, where if you're a Hack the Movies fan and you like those live streams that we do every month.
No one likes those.
The monthly. Why am I doing that? I'm like watching 12
I know,
movies
you're some
every
kind of
month.
loser. Why would you do that? I would have agreed. I'm kidding.
As one regular feature on the podcast, every time I go on one of those live streams, the next day on our podcast, we do a play-by-play breakdown. And I'm like, when Tony said this, I had this report.
I didn't realize that the Hack the Movies wrap-ups had an after show. Wow, I finally made it. I finally made it.
Yeah, so if you just need a little more, you need to see a little a review of the reviews.
Good.
That's where you can find it.
Good. And hopefully my channel doesn't get deleted after doing this collab. So that's happened in the past.
We'll see. We'll talk after this.
Oh, I forgot. I'm putting this out. Am I putting this out? Hold on.
Am I putting this out? This isn't even this is just like...
Well, this is coming out in Boys Month.
You invited the right boy. Let me tell you.
Yeah. I hope everyone's enjoying their August. We're definitely not shooting this in June. Me and Gil are definitely still friends in August, right? We didn't have any falling outs or anything. So yeah, thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, become a patron, become a channel member, buy some merch. Hopefully VHS Fest went well and I met all of you and we all had fun. Hopefully nothing wrong happened at VHS Fest. Hopefully I'm not banned from the event. I don't know. We'll find out. All right, goodbye.
See ya.
Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out our other videos and Patreon page.